The Steelers are in attendance in the front row, and we get footage from earlier in the day, this aerial shot of Rollins and Riddle in the parking lot, and they have to be separated. And that leads to our face-to-face interview that Corey Graves is hosting with Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins. And this was, the second part of this, completely inspired, I imagine, by John Jones and Daniel Cormier, and that famous segment that they had where they thought the mics were off or that they weren't live, and then the footage leaked of the two just going back and forth with each other. But the first half is the part that is quote unquote airing on television, and Rollins accuses Riddle of creeping by his bus, and Rollins says, it's my time, you're not on my level, and Riddle says, I'm going to embarrass you, just like Reigns and Cody did, and Rollins responds, no one likes you, or the way you talk, but Riddle says he's going to be here for a long time, and Riddle's going to put him on the shelf right next to Cody, that's what Rollins says, he's going to put Riddle on the shelf with Cody. And so anyway, it ends with Riddle stating he's going to prove there's only one man in Rollins' marriage, and that's Becky, bro. So Riddle, still a caveman, according to Edge, which I just found it amazing that we had like that line earlier in the show kind of pointing out like just how dated this kind of thought process is. And then we have a babyface later in the show pretty much do exactly that.
Yeah, but I mean, the man is Becky Lynch's nickname. So for a wrestling line, I thought it was clever.
I think when you pair it with the one earlier that's just calling it out, like it's just silly. Like
it was also done to set up, of course, the line, the real cutting line that was to come later.
Yeah. So after the break, they state that they were still mic'd and they're going to air what just happened during the break. And Rollins points out about the line Riddle used about Rollins' family. He says, you don't have a family after your wife divorced you and took your kids, and they don't want to see your bitch ass. And this prompts Riddle to storm back with F-bombs and calling him a bitch. We should also mention that he's back to being Matt Riddle on the show. He was introduced as Matt Riddle in this segment, so it looks like he has regained his first name, and it makes you wonder if that's going to sort of be an edict for a lot of these guys that have lost names over the years that they're going to get back to. But this was I hope that those being used for heat for a storyline at least had a heads up that this was going to be used on national television, and I don't know if WWE really wants to be broadcasting a lot of this stuff about Matt Riddle and going to Google.
Yeah, it's true. It's always the risk, isn't it? At the same time, I think, if you're professional wrestling creator, you want to look for ways to make the product feel more believable. To me, like, this has been a feud that's been okay. Like, they've had some pretty heated brawls. In ring, I've not doubted for 1 second that this match will be tremendous, but as characters, and as promos, I've always felt like they were a bit lacking. And whether it's because it's a bit tough for me to take Riddle in a serious role after seeing him for the better part of a year plus playing Surfer Dude, or if it's Seth Rollins still very much doing ha ha ha. Seeing this little bit of like, hey, we're off air. I'm gonna really kind of go for the jugular type of verbiage between the two, actually for the first time made me believe in the rivalry. So I think that's what they're going for at the expense of perhaps some, of the side effect of somebody Googling exactly what happened between Matt Riddle and his wife, for instance. And again, I wonder how deeply they're thinking about, those ramifications, if they should. I don't know.
Yeah, I would just say, like, for these kinds of angles, I think I wouldn't want people to be blindsided, especially when you're talking about like kids and stuff. And, if you had, a really bad response of, his wife like being upset about this and voicing that after, like, if you don't know this line is coming or something, like that could prompt a response. And I don't think that's the kind of attention you want at any time.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. I will say I enjoyed again, I'm stepping in after a month out. So a lot of this still feels kind of fresh to me, this sort of production. And I felt like certain things that they included here, like the John Jones, Daniel Cormier thing at the end, or even like having cell phone footage from some fan filming from the roof, I guess, of like Seth Rollins and
maybe
Matt
this
Riddle.
was Dexter Loomis hanging out on the roof.
Sure, maybe. But those little kind of production tricks, I still find very novel to see on Raw. They feel very un-Vince and un-Kevin Dunn-like, and I can appreciate them because they add a level of realism that I'm not used to on the main roster shows. It's
kind of taking something like the parking lot footage of something that you could see a million times on WWE television, like a pull apart. But how can we do a pull apart a bit differently? Well, let's just do a different kind of aerial shot and just taking something like we're not changing the substance of it. We're just showing a different way to do it, and it looks different and it feels new.
I especially appreciated the cell phone cameraman's reactions and acting as he was filming it. What? Get him, Riddle.
Man, he should have called him Matt Riddle. Made it feel really authentic after.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.